Grease buildup in a commercial kitchen exhaust system is an expensive and messy problem. The frequent need to deep clean metal hood filters requires a lot of labor, water, and chemicals, while the cleaning of the hood, flue, fan, and rooftop can be invasive and expensive. These traditional practices are disruptive to operations and profitability. Improper maintenance can lead to fines, store closures, and grease fires. Grease Lock can reduce the need for traditional hood and flue maintenance by proactively capturing up to 98% of airborne grease and particulates, including from a flour environment, in the high-efficiency, disposable filter pad. With Grease Lock, users can reduce third-party hood cleanings by up to 75%, reduce time spent deep cleaning metal hood filters, and help improve fire safety in their commercial kitchens. Upon receiving your first shipment of Grease Lock, you will find a set of metal frames and at least one case of filter pads. To assemble the Grease Lock filters, unlock the latch on either side of the frame. Open the front cover and slide a new filter pad up and into the edges of the metal frame. Once flattened, close the front cover and re-engage the latch. Repeat this process for all frames. With filter pads inserted into all of the metal frames and your current hood filters removed, you can now begin installing the Grease Lock filters into the vent hood. There are two ways to install Grease Lock: manually or with the mounting tool. If you ordered a mounting tool, start by sliding the top bracket through the slot at the end of the pole, ensuring the two sets of holes align. Next, slide the J-pin through the pole and top bracket. Once the J-pin is inserted, slide the washer onto the J-pin, followed by the spring, second washer, and cotter pin. Lastly, connect the two poles together to complete the assembly of the mounting tool. By compressing the spring, you can pivot the pole to help match the angle of your vent hood. Now you can hook the mounting tool into the top edge of the Grease Lock metal frame and lift it into the vent hood. Alternatively, to manually install, slide each Grease Lock filter into the exhaust hood, resting the filter down onto the metal frame's bottom clip. Depending on the dimensions of your hood, you may notice gaps between the metal filters. Spacer panels are used to fill these in, and installation will vary depending on the size of the gap. For gaps greater than 2.5 inches wide, use the large spacer panel, which is designed to overlap two filters and hook onto the bottom of the hood canopy. For gaps less than 2.5 inches wide, the small spacer panel can be used, but will require an electric drill to install. To start, measure the width of the gap in the exhaust hood. In this scenario, the gap is 1.5 inches wide. Next, open the front cover of the metal frame and slide the long edge of the spacer panel into the slot on either side of the metal frame. Once slid into place, adjust the spacer panel to match the width of your gap, measuring from the outer edge of the metal frame to the end of the spacer panel. Using at least 2 of the 3 self-tapping screws provided, place the screws through the perforated metal holes and into one of the 3 pre-drilled holes within the spacer panel before screwing into place. Once completely installed, the filter pads will immediately begin to capture grease. As they become saturated, you will notice a small dark square begin to appear in the middle of the filter, with a clean border around the small square. Once you can no longer distinguish the small square from the larger border, it's time to replace that specific filter pad. Keep in mind that not all filter pads will need to be replaced at the same time. The biodegradable filter pads are not washable, but can be simply disposed of in your regular garbage bin once fully saturated. Before inserting a new filter pad, inspect the metal frame for grease buildup and clean it if needed. Any cleaning method is acceptable, including a dishwasher or soak tank. Once cleaned, each metal frame must be dried before inserting a new filter pad and installing the filter back into the exhaust hood. Lastly, when you are wiping down the vent hood canopy and back wall at the end of each day, we recommend checking the drip cups at the end of the exhaust hood and wiping down the front covers of the Grease Lock metal frame. This helps prevent any grease condensation from building up around the hood canopy that may result in the formation of grease droplets. For hard-to-reach filters, you can attach a clean Grease Lock filter pad to the mounting tool and scrub each front cover without having to remove the filters from the exhaust hood.